There we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome for another episode of Wine Chat with one of our winemakers from Hamburg Grape. Let me briefly introduce Hamburg Grape, what we are, what we do. We are a small importing company, and we import all our wines directly. We work with sustainably produced wines. And what does that mean? Well, sustainably simply means that we work with people who respect nature, first of all, and work with no chemicals. And then the question will be, okay, how do you know they are genuine, and how do you know they're telling you the truth? Well, because we work directly with them. So that's how we know. We have a straight relationship with them, and that's how we know their work with respect for nature. Now, sustainable is a big word, but that means that it includes wines that have been made using organic practices, biodynamic practices, and not all of them are certified. For example, these two big boys, okay? They are not certified, but they are biodynamic. And tonight, I'm very, very excited. Tonight is one of those nights where we are gonna be talking about an epic winemaker from an epic region, and we're gonna talk about an epic grape variety. So there is a lot to cover today, a lot of topics, and what we are gonna do is try to go over all of them in the next hour, hopefully. So I'm very excited also because this time, even though we might have some technical issues, we are prepared because I've got a plan B and a plan C and plenty of data to keep you entertained for this hour. So of course, now we are waiting for Andreas Hütwohl from Winemaker. So guten Abend alles. Und willkommen to the Deutschland Winemakers Chat. Okay, so tonight we are gonna cover mostly Riesling with a small brief introduction on what's doing Germany with Pinot Noir. Okay, because not everybody knows, but Pinot Noir is definitely produced largely in Germany. And most importantly, we are going to cover what happens in the Pfalz. So to locate, for some of you, try to locate Pfalz, just imagine Alsace, okay? Go up north, and then you surpass the border and you enter Germany. So now, big round of applause because hopefully Andreas will be joining very soon. So hold on a second. What German efficiency can do this time. Okay, meantime, Echo! There we go! Guten Abend!
Guten Abend, how's it going?
Yes, it's all good, already.
Perfect.
Already I've got these two. I'm gonna make some space for myself.
What a surprise! So, I have the same wines here.
Oh my!
That's
what a chance! What is the chance?
Yeah.
Okay, so good evening again, everyone, and let me introduce you to Andreas for Winemaker. And please, guys, enjoy this epic wine chat. Okay, this is one of my favorite winemaker and one of the favorite persons. Such an inspiration. What a professional. And over to you, Andreas.
Oh, so many big words. I hope I can live up to them.
You will.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you very much for checking this out. I think I will just start with giving you a little introduction of what we do, where we are, a little bit of history, and a little bit of general introduction before we dive into the wines that we have prepared tonight. So as Nicolas said, I'm from Winning in the Pfalz in Deidesheim in Germany. A winery with a very long history, which goes back to 1718 actually, and as it is today. If you come and join us, there will come times when we will all travel again. So if you come back and join us here in person and walk into the old courtyard, all of that was built between 1847 and 1850 approximately, so very long history in winemaking. Back in the days, the estate was founded under the name of Deinhard or Dr. Deinhard. The son-in-law of Dr. Deinhard already was Leopold von Winning, who ran the estate from 1918 onwards for some time. Was founding member of what today is the VDP. Raised the quality a lot. The estate was named von Winning in that time already. Unfortunately, he died during World War I. The rest I make very short. The estate was sold afterwards. The new owners didn't buy the right to use the name von Winning. Went back to Dr. Deinhard as an old name, as a brand name, you can say. And until 2008 again, with a new owner from the area here and a new managing director, Stefan Attmann, the old name von Winning, which really stands for a prime time, was revived, which means it's not a surprise that some of you haven't seen our wines before 2008, because they were not here in that in the way they are today. Old estate, long history, old and historic name, which was renewed, revived with vintage 2008, and still, I mean, all of our vineyard sites, all of our wines, all of that grows in the old and historic cellars that we have here in Deidesheim at Weinstraße number 10. We're right at the German wine route, which is situated in the Pfalz, and our street address is Weinstraße number 10, which I think is a pretty nice address for a winery. Please.
No. Keep going.
I thought you had a question right there.
I do. But after.
So long history in winemaking, obviously mostly Riesling. Germany is the home of Riesling. The Pfalz actually is the world's largest Riesling area. Nowhere else there is more Riesling planted in vineyard area. But of course, we have other great varieties in the area as well. The Pfalz is the second warmest area of Germany. There are crazy people that call it the Tuscany of Germany, which is crazy, of course, but it is fairly warm here. We are situated in the Rhine Valley Rift, which shelters it very well. A rift that was created about 50 million years ago. Rhine Valley broke. Two mountains going up, two lines of mountains of foothill. On our side, it's the Hart Mountains. On the other side, Odenwald becoming the Black Forest further south. And as you have said, Nicola, in your introduction, from here, from where we are situated, the border with Alsace, with France, is only 50 kilometers south. So the Hart Mountains is just the northern extension of the Vosges, same mountain range.
So we can say that basically geologically it's part of the same region, or it's part of a region only divided by a border or a political border.
It's absolutely correct. We're in the same valley. We have the same locations. The top vineyards are all on the slope of those mountains, and the mountains are in the west, which means the sun sets behind them. And even though the Pfalz is relatively warm for German standards, we have cool afternoons and cool nights because there's shadow on the slopes in the afternoon, and the difference between nice and warm days, but cool afternoons and cool nights most of all, makes it possible that we can make really fine and elegant wines, mostly Rieslings like the Paradies Garden here, because acidity stays fresh, stays elegant. I have prepared something, as they say, but take your time. We're not there yet. It was just a teaser.
Well, I was just in fact my next question was to ask you, do you mind if I crack this big boy open? I really
go ahead. Please go ahead, do it.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's say why me and Andreas chose von feeling Paradiesgarten Erste Lage Riesling for today? Well, simply because this is an emblematic effervescent Riesling from Germany, and what a better way to celebrate the coming of the spring, I must say. So cheers to you, Andreas.
Cheers, Nicola.
And it's a pleasure to drink this amazing wine with you. And bear in mind, guys, that you can always find
you have not taken a sip.
These wines are Hamburg Grape, okay, if you're based in the UK. And you can also find Grauburgunder, Spätburgunder, and Pinot Noir Fest, which I happen to have a bottle here, hidden. And eventually, later on, we can talk about it, okay? But most importantly, it's tonight is about Riesling, and why Paradiesgarten? Because, as Andreas was saying before, thanks to the climate, you can obtain really complex wine which blend together the tropical ripeness of Riesling grown in a sunny area, but also that minerality, that freshness, the acidity that you can also find with the Paradiesgarten. Paradiesgarten, not just a name, more than that. I was reading an article actually by Dr. Fischer, who was saying, Dr. Ulrich Fischer, according to a study on how the soil can influence the acidity present in the wine, and Pfalz having that sandstone soil, which gives back that minerality feeling to the wine, is something that is very peculiar of Pfalz. Speaking of which, shall we just briefly, or not just briefly, because there is a lot to say about Paradiesgarten, about the name, what does it mean, Erste Lage, what does it mean, out of curiosity, this VDP sign here, which is also very important, and what has happened during millions of years in with this tectonic activity. You know?
Let's start.
How about that?
Let's start with the Paradiesgarten. Many questions. So behind me, you see a beautiful wall of yellow sandstone. And 250 million year old sandstone is the basis of all of our vineyard sites here. On top of that, not in the Paradiesgarten, there's just a bit, but along the Hart Mountains and the Vosges, you find old coral reefs. There was an ocean in the Rhine Valley between 50 and 35 million years ago. And logically, those coral reefs were on like high up on the mountains, which was close to the surface of the ocean, not in the middle of the valley where the River Rhine is located today. Also, that next to the afternoon shadow makes the sites on the slope very, very good. And then in one specific village, the village Forst, which is one village north of Deidesheim, you also find volcanic basalt. The Paradiesgarten, there's a little bit of all of that, but you can say that it's basically a sandstone-driven site. And those sandstone vineyards, or the sandstone soil, in combination with the Pfalz being relatively warm, gives you, let's say, a warm and a mature Riesling aroma. And this is, if you want to generalize the profile, there's a lot of stone fruit, white peach, apricot as a generalized profile. The Paradiesgarten is a beautiful example for that, because it is really high up on the slope. It doesn't get higher than that. Above it is the forest. The Hart Mountains are covered with forest, one of the largest in Europe, in Central Europe, going deep into the Vosges, going into France. Sandstone site, cool site, so a lot of finesse and elegance there. And the Paradiesgarten stands for our vineyards, because this is, I would say, our most important asset. It's the most unique thing are those outstanding vineyard sites. And You know, the region Pfalz is very old. Wine growing here started more than 2,000 years ago with the Romans. Has been improved by monk orders and then driven to perfection by wineries. And
do you mean driven by perfection by Germans?
Well, the German vineyards, obviously, because they were always farmed by Germans, and the wines were made by Germans. So yes, in our case, that is correct. No, the history is really long, and we have the Pfalz is one of the really classic wine regions of Europe, one can say. You can name it in one sentence with Champagne, with Bordeaux, with Barolo, Tuscany, whatever you want to name, Burgundy, of course. And also here we have many different vineyard sites, and the Paradiesgarten, always use the opportunity to show it, is one of 6 different Erste Lage. Erste Lage means Premier Cru. One of 6 different Premier Cru vineyard sites that we work with, and on top of that we have 8 different Grand Cru vineyards. This classification of what is Premier Cru, what is Grand Cru, goes back to a classification that has been done as soon as 1928. Excuse me, 1828, much earlier than that, 1828. So 27 years before Medoc, the vineyards here have been rated. And the VDP, you asked about it, indicated by that eagle with a grape.
Yes. Just a question before we go into the VDP. It's why is it called Paradiesgarten?
Paradiesgarten, well, it's named pretty much after its paradise-like location up on the hill close to the forest. There is a sandstone statue in the vineyard of a naked lady, actually, which is Eve in paradise. So yeah, the beautiful location gave its name. The statue is there since almost 100 years. So also this is an old site and has been classified a long time ago. And the VDP is the Association of Germany's premium wineries, more than 100 years old, making it the oldest association of premium estates in the world, actually. And we are founding member of it, or Leopold von Winning was founding member of the association that was there before the VDP. The VDP arose out of it when several regions combined. So it's if you see that eagle with a grape on a capsule, you know that it's a producer from Germany. Of course, there are very good producers from Germany that are not in the VDP. So it's not an exclusive sign, but you always know that with the eagle and the grape, you have a great wine from Germany there. And Erste Lage means Premier Cru, which is the second highest level of classification. It's always a dry wine. These are dry wines. The GGs, which is großes Gewächs, Grand Cru, literally, is the dry wine out of a Grand Cru site. And the Erste Lage, like the Paradiesgarten, again, I live up to what I said. I show it every time I say the words. Is a dry Premier Cru. And I said that it's very fine, that it's very elegant, almost floral in its fruit. I think it's almost feminine in its finesse and elegance. Still, it has a lot of, you were talking about minerality, about saltiness, one could say.
Yes, so for our followers, because now this minerality word in the wine industry, it's quite sometimes it's confusing. Some people in the book don't like to use it. So how would you, as a German winemaker of such a vibrant grape variety, how would you define minerality in a wine?
Yeah. No, first of all, quality in wine in general comes from the grapes. Without great grapes, you cannot make a great wine. And luckily, we have a fantastic vineyard manager. Joachim Chaillet is is a genius. You can say that. I don't know anyone even close to what he is doing. So thank you, Joe. I hope you're watching. Great job. And great grapes from great vineyards can reflect salinity. A kind of a sensation of saltiness can just come from great grapes from great vineyard sites, and of course great work in those vineyard sites. And this is only one part of minerality, because in my opinion also acidity is very important here, which always gives a backbone to the wine, gives freshness, great aging potential. Riesling, of course, is a variety that has a higher level of acidity naturally, is there. It's always elegant and fresh, especially on those cooler sites here in the Pfalz up on the slopes. And then the third important thing is, which is part of minerality, in my opinion, is phenolic structure. And phenolic structure gives you a positive sensation of bitterness.
Okay, so exactly. So for people who don't understand the phenolic word, can you tell us a bit more, like what does it mean? Phenolic character. What does the phenolic compounds? Why are they so important?
Yeah. So you have those phenolic compounds in the grapes, on the surface of the stems. It's perceived as tannins is something that people know. Phenolic compounds gives, like I said, positive kind of bitterness, whereas the acidity is, I hope you didn't spill wine all over your computer or something like that.
No, it was just right next to it, but it's actually the second time that happened. So
again, where we naturally ferment the wine in oak barrels of various sizes. For this garden, we use different size oak barrels, natural fermentation inside, and afterwards the wine stays in the barrels on the lees for about a year before we bottle it. So it gets all the time. You have tannins from the oak actually polymerizing, getting together with the phenolic compounds coming from the grapes, and you have a very well integrated structure. So again, in few words, after all this introduction, answering your question, in my opinion, minerality consists of good acidity, good phenolic structure, and saltiness, salinity, which comes from great grapes, from great vineyard sites, and all of that together gives you a sensation of minerality.
So we just got a question on, can you explain, because actually that's something else I wanted to ask you, can you explain what natural fermentation means, and also what type of sustainable practices are you using both in the vineyard and in the cellar?
Okay, so natural fermentation means that, I think you all know, or maybe not, that alcoholic fermentation is done by yeast, which transfers the sugar of the grape to alcohol and also CO2. And those yeasts are ambient, they are everywhere. Still, you can add yeast, also natural yeast strains, which are selected in the lab because of their good ability to ferment, to work in strange conditions. And the stainless steel tank, which is used mostly all over the world, which 50, 60 years ago didn't exist. I told you with the Paradies Garden, we ferment in oak barrels. We have started doing that in 2008. Back then it caused a shitstorm. People said, Riesling and oak, what are those freaks doing? Even though 50, 60 years ago, no one in the world had used stainless steel for the fermentation of wines. Amphora in some parts of the world, but mostly oak barrels. And long story short, stainless steel, there's no oxygen reaching the yeast. The yeast needs oxygen to reproduce, to build up the cell wall. So it's a quite strange environment, let's say. And so added yeast, you can add yeast which can work in strange conditions. There are really like a terminator of yeasts going in there and doing the job. But it's only one yeast strain, and the yeast is not only producing alcohol, it's also releasing the aroma of the grape in its own way. And with natural fermentation, the ambient yeast does the job. It's many different yeast strains taking part of fermentation, all working on the aroma. So you have a much more complex, a much more multi-layered aroma. Of course, it's more unpredictable. What we do in the cellar is controlled idleness, which means there is a lot of control around, but we try to keep our hands off as much as possible. And so aroma-wise, it's there is much. Is someone writing down there? Manuel Neuer. That's quite funny. Yeah. So it's about the complexity of aroma. It's about depth, and we ferment in oak barrels because natural fermentation works very well in there. So we improve the complexity of our aroma, and also because of the phenolic structure I was talking about earlier. So the wines live much longer. They have already experienced a slight influence of oxygen. They are very stable. They will actually improve with time in the glass, even with a wine like the Paradiesgarten. Put it into a decanter, drink it over a few days. It will get more and more open. And this is only the Premier Cru level. The Grand Crus are another step up. And I mean, don't get me started about when to drink those wines. I think a great wine is great at every stage of its development.
Chanel is asking if the barrels are old barrels or new barrels.
Both. Very new barrels we use seldomly for Riesling. Only maybe a barrel or two with the GGs, with the Grand Crus, where we only use small barrels, 500 liters, which is not a barrique. It's about double the size of a barrique barrel. A bit more. A barrique is 225 liters. The barrels we use are 500 liters large, but they are very lightly roasted rather than toasted. So heat is always used to bend the staves. This is done slowly over a long time, only with the ember and not with open fire. So there's no heavy oak influence. We don't want oaky wines. We want it as a vessel, but still the tenets of the oak are a good influence. So the answer is everything. There are used barrels, there are newer barrels, and like always, the balance, the beauty lies in the balance. With
everything with moderation. No?
Exactly.
There was a bit of everything.
Yes, I think there was a second question that you asked, but I forgot what it was. I saw one earlier, so we can pick up on that. There was a question, why is there a screw cap on the Paradiesgarten?
Please, go for it.
I saw that earlier. I think Desiree asked it, even though she knows the answer. But hi, Desiree. In our opinion, I mean, a really good alternative to a natural cork of high quality is a screw cap, because it does not influence the wine. Wine ages differently under a screw cap, though. And so we have decided to use screw caps because they're very easy to use. It's just a very good closure for wines that are most certainly consumed within 5 years, which doesn't mean that they will not age much longer and very good, but experience shows that people just go for them because they are so nice. And they just drink them and they're gone in no time. While wines that have the potential to age for 10 to 20 years, they get a natural cork of the highest quality, which is about €1. €1 of the bottle is only in the cork. I have the Pinot Noir here. I will just pull the cork quickly to show it to you.
And this, which is also the case for, let's say, your Grosse Gewächs, right? Or your Grand Cru.
Exactly. So I think
for our followers, just so you know, like this is attention to details from the beginning to the end, okay, at bomb billing, okay, and everything is meticulously done, and they do everything for a reason, okay. There's no random processes in place. There we go.
This is a high-end cork, and if you use a cork, use a good one, because there's nothing worse than I love Desiree's comments. It's great.
There's, I'm already half bottle by myself.
So by the way, I remembered your second question. It was a question about sustainability.
Correct.
Yeah. So actually since 2008 we are working, or we're using more and more biodynamic methods in the vineyards. We're not certified, neither organic nor biodynamic, but we utilize those methods more and more. Reason is actually mostly because we don't want to use copper in our vineyards, because even if you're certified, you have to fight mildews, for example, and this is done mostly with copper, which it's a very, very controversial thing to discuss. And,
exactly, because let's
there's
recap
not enough time probably to do that. But
for the people who are following, if you have your organic certification on your label, you are still allowed to spray copper in a moderate way. But again, we are talking about something, some chemicals that is a heavy metal. That's why they don't use it as bomb pending, and that's why they don't particularly care about the certification.
Yeah, reason, correct. The reason is that you have to do something because our climate, I mean, you have powdery or downy mildew there, and you have to fight it in a way. And if you're certified, you cannot use something synthetic, so you have to use something natural. And copper works against those mildews and is a natural element, but is a heavy metal that adds up in the soil and at a certain point becomes toxic for important microorganisms, for earthworms. So it's a very controversial thing to discuss. So in our opinion, it's much closer to nature to use a fungicide if that is necessary, if the pressure is high, which only works against the fungus. The fungicide is something synthetic, but only works against this mildew, doesn't harm anything else, no animals, no. It's not a herbicide that destroys plants. You know, it's very specific and washes out. You can drink the groundwater right away. It's not bad at all, but you cannot have a certification with it. So we rather opt for a really intact ecosystem. But really, this is I don't want to kick off any discussions here. There is different approaches. Ours is what I just said. There is no bad or wrong, there's no right or wrong. There are many approaches and many ideas to go to the goal, which is the goal is to have a balanced ecosystem, to have a balanced vineyard, and what I said in the beginning, have great grapes from great vineyard sites and make the best possible wine out of it. And many have that in common, and there are different approaches to that. I just see a comment down.
Oh, good.
I absolutely recommend to decant the GGs. I even recommend to decant the Paradiesgarten here, because it will, without the shadow of a doubt, open up the GGs. They will explode, and they will continue to explode over days, and it will not get bad. I mean, decant it, put it back into the bottle, and chill the bottle, and it will, it will open up. But I mean, what do you do with great young white Burgundies? I would say you decant them as well to make them open up. And you always realized, wow, the last sip out of every glass is always the best. Why? Oh,
you just want to take out all that explosion of fruit.
Yes, Desiree, of course, Burgundy glasses, if you have them, use them.
I've got my Feira. Let me see. It's like I've got my Albarino glass. Okay, Feira do Albarino from Montsao. I thought that this was the right glass to use, also because it was a survivor. And what other question I wanted to ask you? Yes, okay. First of all, just a specification on the difference in between BDP and the Prädikatswein, okay? Because the Prädikatswein are a classification based on ripeness of fruit. while the VDP is a classification on the site, on the
Correct.
location,
Correct.
which is kind of at the end of the day Burgundy based.
Correct.
And
all of what you said is correct. I have nothing to add. So
excellent.
The predicate levels are just talking about the sugar in the grape at the moment of picking. So a Spätlese is picked at a certain level of sugar ripeness, a Cabernet a little bit lower level, and it's different levels of sugar ripeness, and it doesn't matter if those grapes grew on a former potato field somewhere in the valley or on a century-old Riesling Grand Cru. You can get it sugar ripe everywhere. Kevin, I'm not sure if there's time for Pinot Noir.
Hold on, Kevin. Hold on, Kevin, for a Pinot Noir. Hold on 1 second for the Pinot Noir. There is two last questions, and then we can move to Pinot Noir. But first of all, is because this was a matter of debate, and a matter of debate according to books as well. On the Auslese, right? You have normal grapes and also grapes that are affected by botrytis. Right or wrong?
Well,
in order for you to put Auslese on your label.
In order to put Auslese on a label, you need to have a certain level of sugar ripeness. And that you can actually achieve with healthy grapes, which are very, very ripe. I'm actually not sure. You know, we make dry, elegant, fine, dry terroir wine. So I'm not so concerned about those noble sweet wines, but it's possible that I'm not sure if you need a certain amount of noble rot of botrytis there.
Because I think you are allowed.
You're surely allowed to use it. Of course, you're always allowed to use botrytis. We avoid it because we want clear aromas. We want fresh, elegant, and focused wines.
Exactly.
But,
and then
for Beerenauslese, which is berry selection or Trockenbeerenauslese, you have to have botryticized grapes involved. Trockenbeer is like raisins, very small, but only botryticized grapes. But Auslese is somewhere in the middle. I'm not 100% sure about the level of botrytis that you have to have there or not. I don't think you have to have it in there.
Okay, so Jamie, what's the drinking window for this Riesling? It's now because it's spring. Okay, and
it's always
fucking awesome.
The drinking window is always, and the drinking window is, you know what your drinking window is. Everyone has their own preferences. And I can tell you what my drinking window is. I like to drink wines in the fruit phase, let's say in the first 3 years before they shut down a little bit. And then, yes, we do make magnums, Desiree. And then when they are young, I decant them. And then I, again, personally like to drink wines between, let's say, between 8 and 12 years of age. So these are my windows that I appreciate a lot, but everyone is different. But a great wine will perform in your drinking window. And the Paradiesgarten will perform from now until in 15 years or so, even more so for the GGs.
Great potential.
Not a problem at all.
Then, just a very quick tip for our followers. Okay, if you are shopping for Riesling, okay, and either you like dry Riesling or you like sweet Riesling, you don't know how to choose, and you don't remember the classification because there is a bit of German and it's kind of, complicating between Auslese, Beerenauslese, Spätlese, like words that are similar. So simply, small tip that I think you can remember is always look at the alcohol content. All right, more alcohol you have, the more dry the wine it is. Less alcohol you have, the sweeter it is. Okay, if you have 8% ABV, that's definitely sweet. If you have in between 10 and 11.5, that's probably sweet to off dry. Okay, so remember, the higher the alcohol, the drier the wine. The lower the alcohol, the sweeter the wine. Now,
but you can have with 12% per volume of alcohol, you have a beautiful dry wine which is perfectly balanced. And I saw a question down there, how do you balance the acidity? This is very easy, because if the grapes are ripe, if you pick at the right time, and you have physiological ripeness, which means the grape is ripe, the pips are ripe, and the aroma is ripe, then the acidity is also at a level which offers a great backbone, but is in itself already balanced by ripe flavors and ripe fruit. And then, of course, you could play with a bit of residual sugar. Our wines are dry, so there is not much. Let's say maybe 4 or 5 grams of residual sugar, which means natural grape sugar, which is not fermented. There's nothing added to it, sugar-wise. So yeah, there's a lot that balances it in itself. In a ripe fruit, it's not, if it was green, if it was unripe, then you would need to balance it, and then the acidity would be aggressive. But if you have something ripe and beautiful, it's balanced in itself. Always a function of great vineyards, by the way.
Yeah, agree totally. Now,
so
Andreas,
maybe quick recap on
go for it.
On the Riesling. Paradiesgarten is 1 out of 6 different Premier Crus and 1 out of 14 different single vineyard wines. We have 8 different Grand Crus on top. We have other Rieslings as well. We have great Sauvignon Blanc. We have Pinot varieties more in the valley, not on the slope like Riesling and Sauvignon Blanc, but more in the valley. And this is also where the Pinot Noir grows. But
perfect. So,
what did you want to say?
Okay, so just so you know, guys, Von Winning can be found in the UK market at Hamburg Grape. Okay, so browse our website to find out more. Now, because if you introduce it, I would say, shall we talk a little bit of Pinot Noir oder Spätburgunder in Deutschland, and see, I mean, why Spätburgunder or Pinot Noir is so important also in Germany, which is, if I'm not wrong, is the second grape variety produced, and what happens with the Pinot Noir Royal, and what happens, I mean, what's the reason why you are planting the Pinot Noir down in the valley?
So first of all, Pinot Noir is grown in Germany since centuries.
So Jane in London, yes, we do have both of them in stock. We do.
Good. Yeah, since centuries, Pinot Noir is grown here. You have the German synonym for Pinot Noir is Spätburgunder. It's the same variety. It's 2 different names for the same variety. And due to the fact that Pinot Noir exists in Germany and is cherished in Germany since centuries, it's our most important, most noble red variety. We have German expression, German clones of Pinot Noir, of Spätburgunder, and we have several Pinot Noir vineyards planted, mostly in Ruppertsberg, which is 1 village south of Deidesheim, but also here in Deidesheim. High density plantings, which means almost 10,000 vines per hectare, planting density of the Pfalz 100 years ago, and still in Burgundy, Bordeaux, you find higher planting density often. You have competition between the vines, deep roots from the beginning, lower yield per vine, small clusters, loose clusters, small berries, so very good thing. And we have planted.
Why is it a very good thing?
Because, as I said, deep roots from the beginning, the wines get nutrients in search for. They go deep down into the subsoil. So even if you have a dry period, they can get water because the roots are deep.
And how?
If you have low yield per vine, you have, of course, always a function of balance. But if you have little, the plant supports less clusters and grapes better than they do a lot, right? So you want competition, you want positive stress. So high density planting is a good thing because of that.
So does it mean also that because the clusters and the berries are small, the fruit flavors are more concentrated?
Correct, because the flavor as well, the aroma as well as the phenolic compounds are in the skin. while in the juice you have water, sugar, acidity. So the good stuff is in the skin. It's like with almost every fruit and vegetable. I think my kids love cucumber peeled. Doesn't make sense because all the good stuff, and there is not much good stuff in a cucumber, but the good stuff is in the peel. So high density planting is a good thing. And we have planted French clones. So the genetic origin of our vines is from Burgundy. That's why we label it Pinot Noir. Also, as it's written here at the sites.
Yeah, you can see
Pinot Noir.
because it's slightly...
It says Pinot Noir because it's not Spätburgunder. It's French origin. Yeah, a very fine, a very elegant Pinot Noir. In my opinion, Pinot Noir is an elegant variety.
Absolutely.
If people try to show that they can make red wine and the red wine is big and has a lot of alcohol, not a good idea with Pinot Noir because it will be heavily over-extracted. Often in the past, Spätburgunders from Germany have been picked too late, so too much alcohol. You could, I was distracted by the compliment. Thank you, running up that hill 78.
Yeah, very good comment. And I also wanna.
I got distracted by it quickly, but
I also want to thank AT Cats. She said it's the best Insta so far. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I forgot where I stopped.
No, you stopped when when
exactly over-extracted. Too much, picked too late. Oh, it makes sense.
Cheeky Emma.
Then they were too long on the skin maybe and too long in 2 new barrels just to make a big red wine. But Pinot Noir is not a big red wine. Pinot Noir is a very elegant and fine wine. It's the Riesling of red wines, you could say, because Riesling reflects terroir very much. It reflects the place where it grows. That's why those 14 different vineyard sites we have taste dramatically different, even though we do the same. We have the same dedication in the vineyards. We have the same hands-off approach and dedication in the cellar. Still, they taste very, very different. And that's the difference to other varieties like Chardonnay, for example. I think a
classic example is
a great Chardonnay from Burgundy. The vineyards, of course, are all different, but an entry-level, easygoing Chardonnay tastes pretty much the same wherever it comes from. Whereas Riesling, an entry-level and maybe not so high-quality Riesling tastes like a not so high-quality Riesling from Germany or Austria or the Mosel or the Pfalz. Even there, you can taste the origin. But when you take it to the max and you do everything you can to have the high-end profile of the different vineyards reflected, then you taste it even more. And this is the great strength of Riesling and also Pinot Noir, which reflects terroir very, very well. And this is, people say spicy, people say smoky. I agree. It's again naturally fermented in open oak fermenters. It's the pigeage, so the skins that are swimming on the top are stumped down by hand, so you have good contact of the skin with the juice. Then quite quickly after fermentation, it goes into the cellar to age in barriques and Burgundian PS, 225, 228 liter barrels, natural malolactic fermentation, natural bacterial process that where lactic acid bacteria transfers the malic acids, one of the main acids in wine, to lactic acid, tastes softer, often gives you, with white wine, with Chardonnay, for example, the sensation of buttery flavors. We don't want that with white wines. With red, it makes sense to balance the acidity. And then after, let's say, 15 to 18 months, we bottle those wines unpumped, unfined, unfiltered. The Pinot Royal is our entry-level Pinot. And it's entry-level on the top level.
I agree. And the question is, why is it called Royal?
Because it's royally good. And also it's royally good for being the entry level Pinot, the entry level wine.
Because
do you agree that Spätburgunder
just to remind
Bourgogne wines? Let me answer the question quickly. I would say very much depends on the wine. If you have a very generic Spätburgunder, of course it ages quickly, but that you have to compare to a, let's say, very generic and entry-level Pinot Noir from Burgundy, which you can find. But a top-notch Pinot Noir from Germany probably tastes or ages differently than a great and top-notch Pinot Noir from Burgundy. But I mean, hands down, Burgundy, the Côte d'Or is the benchmark for Pinot Noir. So we're not competing with Burgundy. We're also not copying Burgundy, but Burgundy is surely the benchmark here. Does it replace Pinot Noir too? Yes, it does.
But it does not replace Pinot Noir.
We still have the Pinot one. Let's explain maybe quickly. We also have the same level with or the same kind of classification with our Sauvignon Blanc, where we have a Roman 2 and a Roman 1. And in Germany in school, 1 is the best grade that you can get, and 2 is the second best. And 2 is really good, but 1 is better. And so far we had the 2 and 1 with Pinot Noir, and with vintage 2016 we have decided in this vintage only to make 1 Pinot Noir. With vintage 16 we have replaced number 2 and 1 with only the Pinot Royal. In 16 and 17 there is Pinot Royal. This is not carved in stone. Sometimes when those two are maybe further apart, the 1 or 2 might reappear. For now, the Royal replaces 1 and 2. Of course, there are back vintages of the Roman 1 which we still have in stock, which Humble Grape has in stock, and which are getting better and better. In the future, we are most certainly going to have single vineyard. We'll have GG Pinot Noirs. This is this will be in the future. So another idea was to limit the amount of Pinot Noirs, as we will have single vineyard sites. We didn't want to make it more confusing, and for the time being, Pinot Royal in the vintages 16 and 17 is replacing 1 and 2, but we'll see how that goes. We're always full of surprises and changes. It never gets boring.
Absolutely agree. And well, let's just say that okay, we have about 6 minutes left. Okay.
Yeah, time flies.
Time flies, and again, it's not enough. It's not enough to talk about bone pinning wines. I think we should make another one in the future, and maybe we can cover the GG.
Anytime. I mean, everyone that is listening in here, request.
Hold on a second.
Hang on. Request more wine chats, and we'll make it happen.
So Jay Lyle in London, yes, we can definitely recommend. So if you email me in private, it's nicola@ambergrape.co.uk. I can definitely give you some recommendations. Okay, yeah, so I repeat, nicola@ambergrape.co.uk. Email me and I'll send you some recommendations.
Yeah. And cool. He will personally pack mixed cases for all of you.
happy to. Not sure about the delivery, but
I saw a question down there asking how our Pinot Noirs compare to Alsatian Pinot Noirs. I mean, the border with Alsace is 50 kilometers further south. The heart of the region is even further south, though. It's cooler here, and I think that our Pinot Noirs and or maybe also the Rieslings are maybe more elegant or have more tension, and the climate is a bit cooler than it's down there, even though that there are a lot of similarities.
Okay, please share a recommendation for a mixed case. I would say get the Paradise Garden, maybe 2 bottles. get the Von Winning Royal, then you should definitely go for
Ungeheuer.
Ungeheuer GG.
Grand Cru.
I would also say Pechstein. I'm a big fan of Pechstein.
So, I mean, it's my favorite site, but Grand Cru, Ungeheuer, and Pechstein both sandstone, limestone, volcanic basalt, amazing combination. And also, if you look for a mixed case, don't forget the Sauvignon.
But we don't have the Sauvignon Blanc, so maybe we can do Weißburgunder.
You don't have Sauvignon Blanc. You used to have it.
Oh yes, no, sorry, my fault. Yes, we do have Sauvignon Blanc first. Okay, so it's a Sauvignon Blanc first, like Pinot Noir first. Okay, exactly. I also recommend Pinot Noir first. Pinot Noir first, if you want to have a Burgundy experience, go for Pinot Noir first. And also, I recommend either Dr. Dainer Grauburgunder or Dr. Dainer Spätburgunder, which is still part of Von Winning, but the difference is that you don't have the Von Winning on the label, simply because those two lines are made in stainless steel.
Yeah, Dr. Deinert is the style of the past decades. Is, I told you earlier, it's an old name of the estate and it lives on as a brand. It represents the style of our past decades. It's varietal wines. It's Pinot Blanc. It's Grauburgunder, Pinot Gris, and very nice wines, clear, crisp, fresh, fruit-driven. We still have a few of them, and Humble Grape has a few of them. But for the mixed case, I mean, it's easy to see that 6 bottles will not be enough. I hope you have big cases at Humble Grape.
Yes,
and
yes,
as Desiree says, as Born Again Wine Geek says down there, she is putting together mixed cases together with Nicola. It will be posted, and you will all be able to order them, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. And 80 Cats was also saying that the Chardonnay is also good. So the Chardonnay is also loved by, I love to drink that, then we're watching James Bond.
Yeah. Dr. Deinhardt, Another Day is my favorite James Bond.
Yeah. And then what I would say, yes, so the Chardonnay is something, it's another gem. If you're looking like, like for something, an underdog or something, like unexpected, for example, like a Chardonnay from the Pfalz, definitely buy it from Von Winning. Or if you're in the UK, buy from Humble Grape.
And you look for our Chardonnays in the future as well. Next to Sauvignon Blanc, it will be a next thing to look out for, because we have planted a bit of Chardonnay in the Paradis Garden. Actually, we have chosen cooler spots for Chardonnay. This is going to be really cool, really cool.
Interesting.
In every, in the truest sense of the word.
Okay, so Andreas, we have about 1 minute and a half.
Okay.
What I wanted to say is that I hope, we tried to cover as much as we could today. It was a day would not be enough to cover what Von Winning is doing. Okay, in the side. Andreas, I want to thank you very much personally, because you are one of my examples in the industry. I want to thank you for your availability. I want to thank you for your knowledge. I want to thank you for your positivity and your passion for what you're doing. I got just a 25 seconds remaining, so
I will say something.
Bye, go for it.
Thank you everyone for watching. Remember, fine, dry, elegant terroir wines, and come and visit us once we can travel again. We're always here. The restaurant will reopen. We have a nice restaurant called Leopold. Buy the mixed case, buy Von Winning wines and come over. Goodbye.